Hi, in this video we're going to look at using the quadratic formula. This is a GCSE Higher topic. If you've got any questions on this, you can contact me on Twitter at Mr_G_Walton. And if you like this video, please subscribe. Okay, so what we're going to do in this particular video is we're going to identify when we can use this quadratic formula. We're also going to show you how to do it, how to actually get some solutions from it, and what it's all about. So you'll notice on this left hand side here, I've actually put a picture of something that appears at the beginning of the A star to G GCSE papers. It's actually the formula sheet. And this part that we're talking about today, the quadratic formula, is actually on that formula sheet. I've made it a little bit bigger here so you can see. Now for those people that are doing the new GCSEs, the 1 to 9 GCSEs, or if you're following a different exam board or a different specification, this may not be given and you will need to learn it. Although it looks complicated, once you've mastered what's going on, it's not that difficult to learn. So let's see what's going on here then. I've got x equals. Now x equals, they're the solutions to the quadratic equation that we've been given. Minus b. This funny symbol here means plus and minus. So we're going to both do an add for one solution and a minus, a takeaway, for the other solution. B squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a is the quadratic formula to get some solutions to an equation. When my quadratic is in a particular form, now what I'm looking for is ax squared, so something in front of my x squared. That doesn't have to be the letter a, it will probably be a number. It could be that this here is just 1, in which case it just looks like x squared, so that part isn't always obvious. We'll bear that back in mind in a second. Plus bx plus c equals 0. Now again, when you're looking at your quadratic equation, these may be negative. So you might have a minus something or a minus something here. You might even have a minus here. And we also need to make sure that this is equal to 0. So you might have a little bit of work to do in terms of moving something from this side across, making sure that this equals 0. We also need to make sure that the first step is that we write down what our A is, what our B is, and what our C is. Now once we've written those down, that's going to be really helpful because all we need to do then is substitute these values for A, B and C into this nasty looking formula up here. Okay, so take care when we're looking at these that this might be negative, and if it is, then this value here for B is negative. Similarly here. Okay, let's have a go at one then. So in this particular question, it says solve 3x squared plus 7x minus 13 equals 0. Now, the clue to being able to use the quadratic formula, notice it doesn't say anywhere in the question, by using the quadratic formula, solve this. It just says, give your solutions correct 2 decimal places. And this here is the key. This is the clue that you're looking for to enable you to know what to do. If it was asking you for a solution, but it didn't say this, there's a good chance that it might factorise, and you can factorise and solve it. Or you might be able to complete the square on it and solve it that way. The big clue in most of the GCSE questions is this part. If it says to decimal places or significant figures, then we're going to be using the quadratic formula. Okay, let's make a start then. First of all, as ever, we're going to write down what the quadratic formula is. Whenever we're using a formula, it's always useful to write that down. So x equals minus b plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Notice the square root is over all of this part, all divided by 2a. Next, I'm going to write down what a is, what b is, and what c is. So a in my part is the number in front of the x squared, in this case 3. B is the number in front of the x, in this case it's 7. Notice it's positive 7, so I'm just writing 7 down here. And c is the bit at the end, in this case minus 13. I'm also checking that this already equals 0 because that's what the format I'm looking for my quadratic equation to be in already. And in this case it is, so I don't need to worry about that anymore. Next, I'm going to start substituting values into my quadratic formula. And I'll need a calculator later on to be able to do this, so we'll worry about that later. Okay, so let's start substituting some values into my quadratic formula then. So we've got x equals minus b, so minus 7, plus and minus the square root of b squared, so 7 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 3, multiplied by c, which is minus 13. So minus 13. There, all divided by 2a, so 2 times 3. Next, we can start to tidy this up a little bit. I've got minus 7, plus and minus. Now this part, in my square root bracket, we're just going to be really careful what happens here. Remember, if you start putting things in your calculator, particularly with negatives, you've got to be really careful, because sometimes your calculator's trying to do BIDMAS or BODMAS. It doesn't always know certainly when to square negatives. That can sometimes cause us some issues. In this case, we don't need to worry too much because it's a positive, but let's think carefully about what's going on here. I'm going to do this bit without a calculator. So I've got 7 squared, which is 49. So 49. Then I've got minus 4 times 3, which is minus 12, multiplied by minus 13. So minus 12 times minus 13, which is 156. But remembering that a negative value multiplied by another negative value gives me a positive. So this becomes plus 156. And it's all divided by 6. Let's keep going, tidying this up. So I've got minus 7 plus and minus the square root of 156 plus 49, which is the square root of 205, all divided by 6. Now at this point, what I'm going to do is split it out into two separate solutions. Okay, one of the solutions is going to be for my positive value here, for my plus, and the other one is going to be for the minus. So I'm going to do it in two different colours just so that you can see where the different solutions are coming from. So first of all, I've got x equals minus 7 plus root 205 over 6, and I've also got x equals minus 7 minus root 205 over 6, which is going to give me two separate answers. Again, I'm starting to run out of a little bit of space. I'm just going to make a little box down here for my two solutions to fit in. I'll do one in green and one in pink, but I'm just typing these into my calculator now. So for the first one, I end up with x equals 1.2, I actually got 1.2196, but it says to two decimal places, so 1.22 for one solution, and for the other solution, I get x equals minus 3.5529, so 5. Now if you don't get those solutions, things that could go wrong, make sure that on your calculator you've made sure that you're dividing the whole thing here by 6, and you've not just got minus 7 and then minus root 205 over 6. This line must go all the way across. That's important. So check that when you've gone through this, you can actually do it on your calculator and you're getting these solutions here. Okay. So here's one for you to have a go at by yourself. Take a look at the question, think about it carefully, substitute your values in, and let's see if we agree in a second. Okay, so what I'm hoping you've noticed first of all is that this one has got a plus 14 at the end rather than being equal to 0. So the first thing we need to do is rearrange this to make it x squared plus x, taking 14 away from both sides leaves me with minus 3 equals 0. Now I can identify my A equals 1, B equals 1, C equals minus 3. Start to substitute these values in now. So I end up with x equals minus b plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So the solutions I'm going to get are minus 1 plus and minus the square root of 1 minus 4 times 1 times minus 3, all divided by 2, which gives me minus 1 plus and minus the square root of 1 multiplied by, 1 minus 4 times 1 times minus 3 gives me 13 divided by 2. So the two solutions that I'm going to get for my x are when x equals minus 1 plus root 13 over 2, and when x equals minus 1 minus root 13 over 2. So the two solutions are x equals and x equals 1.30 and minus 2.30, all to three significant figures. Okay, if you got those solutions, well done. If not, go back, see if you can spot where you made a mistake. It could just be a calculator error, or you may have forgotten to do this bit at the beginning. Okay, so at the end of the video, we're going to take some revision card notes. Try and remember the quadratic formula if you can. If it's given to you, then by all means use it. But if not, and it looks like increasingly you're not going to be getting this, then you're going to have to learn it. But it's not particularly difficult, and when you've got it in your brain, you'll get it there forever. Okay, look out for in the questions these clues about a number of decimal places or a number of significant figures, and don't forget the sign before the number. Now, there was one final thing that I was just going to talk to you very briefly about, and that was, again, just looking at the quadratic formula, minus b plus and minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. I did say that at GCSE you would normally get two solutions from here. Now, if for some reason this ends up giving you 0, then you're just going to get one solution. It's called a repeated solution, because you're going to get minus b plus and minus nothing. So you've only got minus b divided by 2a. If you go on to study A-level maths or further maths, then you'll see that this part here, the b squared minus 4ac, is called a discriminant. It discriminates between whether you're going to get two solutions, one solution, or if this becomes negative, then you get no real solutions, because we can't find the square root of a negative to give us a real solution. Okay, hopefully this has been helpful. If you like the video, please subscribe, and good luck in any exams that you may have coming up soon. Thanks, bye.